Very good morning, everyone. How are you all? I'm good. So, all of you written mains and expecting to clear it. So, how many of you? Yes? Yeah. So, all of you written prelims, and how many of you are scoring 90 plus? Good. 85 plus? 100 plus? Good. 80 plus? So, more or less like 85 plus you are clearing. Good. So, 2 years ago, we introduced something called bridge courses. And it was a very popular initiative for many reasons. Now, after writing prelims, after preparing intensely for both prelims and mains, so usually what happens, what I've seen is that from January to preliminary examination, most of the people, what they do is focus excessively on the prelims part. By December, they will stop mains preparation. In that regard also, we had introduced something called core batch, super core batch. Those who write mains and feel that they lack content or feel that they haven't done well in mains. So we wanted to give an opportunity and conducted super core batch. So that is usually in the month of October, November, December and January. And I noticed that very few people join super core batch. So only those who have given multiple mains, those who want improvement in answer writing or in essay writing, they used to join super core batch. But the numbers are very less. So majority people shift to prelims mode. And what it does is that though there is improvement in your content in terms of, especially from the prelims perspective, you cannot or you haven't trained yourself to use that content post prelims for the mains test series or mains examination. Kutkade, please. You haven't trained yourself, like just go back to a prelims days preparation. So most of the prelims preparation is not integrated with the mains syllabus. So you'll be solving lots of mock tests, you'll be making notes, you'll be revising all your textbooks. But that is all intended to score high in prelims or crack the preliminary examination. So what it does is that in terms of competition, if you look at the overall competition, so those who score high marks in mains, it is not just because of the good content, right? Content more or less available to everyone. ಅದು ಎಕೋ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ನೋಡಪ್ಪ. ಹಲೋ, ಕೇಳಿಸುತ್ತಾ ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ? Is it audible? Yeah. So the content is available to everyone, right? Now how to use that content, right? How to gain an advantage in representing that content in your answer scripts. So that part, what I noticed is that between January to June or May, people don't consider it or don't train themselves with respect to that. So what you have to gain advantage, one, what is the exclusive content you have, right? When it comes to mains, exclusivity in content. So what it means is that because content is available for everyone, for every topic, you should have your own extra content, right? Maybe sourced from standard sources, sourced from your own individualistic research or whatever sources you have come across. But that doesn't mean doing lots of research, right? Second, using that content appropriately, right, in your answers, according to the demand of the question, like, precisely to the point, without using too many words. So here comes the structuring part plus the presentation part, right? So what I have noticed, so last year mains I was not very active, but before that till there, I noticed that people who are using their individualistic knowledge content smartly, more precisely, in a better way. What it means is that in terms of the presentation, so they are having certain extra advantage, right? Now, what is the difference between the one who scores, let's say 760 or 770, and the one who scores 900 in the mains marks? So the topper's mark, the rank 1 mark is 899 this year, right? Before that it was 901. The mains score, including optional plus all the GS papers. So 901, 900 is considered as the holy number. So if you are aiming for top 10 or not, even the rank 1, so 900 score. So if you are sitting and listening, and if you are interested in bridge course and have come here, so that means you really want to score high marks in the mains examination. So have the target of 900 marks. So now what is the difference between the one who scores 900 and the one who scores just 1 marks above the cutoff? So somebody might have scored really low marks in the essay paper, right? So if the topper has scored 130, 140 in essay, so the one who is just in the border of the cutoff might have scored 90, 100 or 110 in the essay paper. So we see in essay and ethics the large difference, right? So there is a scope to get 140 plus in essay and ethics paper, right? Unlike in GS papers. So in GS1 this year we have seen that the scores have again come down. So I have seen many people scoring in the 80 to 90 range. So this happened in the GS3 paper for past 4 years. So if you see that very rarely somebody has scored 100 plus in the GS3 paper. The scores are, even the topper scores are in the 80 to 90 range. So combined plus optional scores, if you see like PSIR, the highest score is 303 or 304. So we see 1 or 2 people scoring just in the range of 300 to 310. Earlier it used to be more numbers, even crossing 320, 330 also. So there was a time somebody scored 362 in anthropology also. Rank 45, Lakshmi, she was from Karnataka. So now we are not seeing that trend. Even in humanities optionals, the highest score of toppers are in the range of 270 to 290, right? So you have to have the target of 280 in optional and from 4 GS papers, right? So what should be your ideal target? Something of 450 marks, right? 450 marks, and in essay paper 130 to 140. Now to reach there, ideally, as I said, in addition to content building, the presentation and the structuring matters a lot. Secondly, the early start, right? So you have to start as early as possible to overcome the gap that was there in your preparation. Like 6 months of gap, though you have built content, you have gained content, it was mainly to eliminate options in the preliminary exam. It is not to recall and create 150, 250 word answer. The knowledge that you have gained in the last 4 to 5 months, it was not targeted towards writing answers, right? It is all like residual. It is there in your head, but it is all scattered. So you have to consolidate. You have to bring that knowledge together and start immediately applying. So there we noticed that there was this gap. The students were struggling with the both consolidation of the content, gaining advantage in their content, because it takes lots of time to do research on your own. So when it comes to mains examination, we have exactly 90 days time for this year mains. So in 90 days, doing research for each and every topic that is there in the mains syllabus, so is very difficult. So it is lots of time consuming. So for that, there needs to be a guidance, a mentorship, right? Or you should have your own previously prepared notes. So earlier we used to say that, when people used to write secure answers and others, so I used to tell by December or January, prepare your mains notes, right? Like by 2023 December, you should have completed notes for all the mains GS papers. Go on enriching them, integrating with the prelims papers, and immediately after prelims, like 15-20 days, sit and again update your notes. and then join the mains test series, like I will or whatever, whichever mains test series of your choice, join that and start practicing. So ideally, this is the scenario. But what I see that last 3 years, when once the prelims became difficult, it became more uncertain. So the shift was focused on cracking prelims. So it is not wrong, like on your behalf. But as I'm repeatedly saying, that gap must be addressed, whatever gap that is there. So for that, in this bridge course, what our teachers and the best of the faculties are going to do, you might have come across. So we had discussion, when we launched this, what should be the ideal purpose of the course. One, so in 6 hours duration, and I think in 20 days, right? So each GS paper like 12 to 13 days, 6 hours. If it is 3 hours, 20 days. So they are going to complete entire GS paper in around 12 days. It might get stretched to 1 or 2 days extra, right? So every day they are going to make you write answers, and in 6 hours they are going to address all the previous year questions related to those topics. They will make you write answers. They will give you content for those answers. At the same time, the entire GS2, for example, today this is the launch of the GS2 Bridge Course. So GS2 entire course, for every topic, they are also giving you well-researched notes, right? So now, let us say that 200 or 300 people are going to join this GS2 Bridge Course. So last year we had like more than 200, before that more than 200, 250 something. So this year we expect even more. The prelims was easy, majority if you are confident. And GS2, if you really put your efforts, you can go till 120 marks, right? Just like in essay and just like in ethics paper, you can gain advantage in the GS2 paper also. So you can maximize your marks. So for every mark there are 10 ranks, you know that, right? For every mark there are 10, like 50 marks, you lose 500 ranks. You gain 70 marks combinedly from essay, ethics and GS2, you are actually in the list, even if you score slightly low marks in the optional. So previous year question papers and then the daily writing routine plus giving you the unique content. But my personal suggestion is that in addition to what is given in the class, let us say like 200 people are joining here, because all 200 people are going to get the same content. Put 2 hours extra effort in addition to whatever you are going to get. For that, still enrich your content in your own unique way, right? But do it as much as possible, but don't put so much of time in this regard. Ultimately what happens, even if everybody has the similar content, when it comes to actual writing practice, so it's a total different ball game. People will not be able to recall all the content, all the points, right? So when it comes to ensuring the specificity in the answer, so what do I mean by specificity? A question will have 2 parts. One is topic in the question and second one is the directive part, right? So they will give you the statement and then there will be a directive. The directive is nothing but the like analyze, examine, comment, critically comment. See, we call those words as the directive word. So the duty of the directive word is that it actually directs you to, or it creates specific expectation, specific demand. Comment means compulsorily there should be your opinion. Critically comment, there should be compulsorily a balanced opinion. Even when there is single comment, then also there should be balanced opinion. But critically comment is forcing you to come with a balanced opinion. Critically analyze. Go to the minute details of the topic in the question, right? Create multiple parts. For every part, come up with the specific example. Then the answer, as you know, the introduction, body and conclusion, 3 parts are there. But within these 3 parts, there are always 2 important parts. One, the analytical part. Second one is the substantiation, or what we call generally as examples, validation. So what I see is that people are good in writing the statements, right? So you can think, you can create, you can apply logic, you can come up with the statements. You can give the conceptual part of the answer. But when it comes to substantiation, validation of justification of those points, so there I see many people missing the content part, right? So the bridge course will give you that content. Your target must be to apply at least 80, not apply, use the 80% of the content in your answers. Any topic. For example, if it is the RP Act, right? So Manjunath sir will give you a very good content. It is not possible for everyone to reproduce that content as it is, right? Of course, it goes along with the directive of the question, the demand of the question. So they might ask, so for example, it can be an hypothetical question. So with respect to, does it require any other further amendments in the light of recent elections? I'm just making up a question, right? So you may be asked to think of certain reforms, certain further amendments, or why not the previous amendments not implemented well or something. It can be another question. So it is asking you to think, come up with certain logical way of, your own original thinking, right? So for that you may have to give validation. That is the examples. So it can be current affair example, right? It can be a study by ADR or something like, maybe you might have sourced from some other like EPW magazine, whatever it is. I'm just giving it. So now, though content is given to everyone, recalling that in the examination scenario, applying it in different context. The question is asked in a different dimension than what you were given in the classroom. So that is why I said it's a different ball game. So that particular skill you have to own, you have to train, you have to polish, right? So there comes the application of this knowledge constantly using maybe a test series or writing exercise, pick the questions from different sources. So only if you complement this bridge course with slight enrichment of your own extra research, second one, extra writing practice, and using that content given in the class from different dimensions. I think I'm sure the teacher will also be giving those dimensions in the class. But my suggestion is that ultimately in the mains examination, it's always about application of mind, the presence of mind. Because we don't know from which context they are going to ask the question. So there are two ways how UPSC questions are framed nowadays. So there is interdisciplinary approach, right? So they can link polity question with the economic aspect or historical aspect, or maybe like security aspect. Like in paper 2, you might see security related question linked with certain political aspect, right? So or like social justice questions can be linked with certain economic angle also. IR questions linked with the geographical aspect also. So that is one way. One way of checking your ability to link different disciplines and create an answer, right? The second way is these open-ended questions, right? So open-ended questions are the difficult questions. Like there can be a statement, and then in front of the statement there can be a word comment, analyze, examine, discuss, the different directive words. So these questions are open to interpretations, right? So what is the most logical interpretation? What is the most specific interpretation you can do? So for that you should always know the context of the statement, right? The statement will not be random. It will have certain context. So to know the context, your current affairs knowledge must be strong. Not just of this year, maybe of previous year or even going back 1 or 2 years. So there answering previous year questions of each subject is really important. And I think quick revision of important issues going back 1 or 2 years is also important, like issue wise, not like month wise current affairs, like issue wise. Like RP Act, for example, last 3-4 years, new developments with respect to judiciary. Any issue, last 3-4 years important. Like issue wise, going back, I think that they will be doing. So in the class, they will be giving that. So these two aspects, like open-ended questions, open to multiple interpretation, knowing the exact context, that will fetch you more marks, right? So that ideally comes in the introduction. So this question is relevant in the context of, if you can link particular current event or incident, then definitely you are going to gain higher marks. Similarly, in these type of questions, so linking different disciplines within the paper or across the papers. So if the question itself is demanding like that, ensure that in some other questions you bring that interdisciplinary approach by yourself. That is also actually, that also creates an advantage for you, right? So sometimes we see that, you know, linear content, like what exactly is there in notes, you are applying it. So if you can link that, not in the body of the answer, maybe in the introduction or in the conclusion part. I think, are you getting this point? The one I am trying to convey right now, right? So these linkages, right, actually fetch you more marks. So that is how you bridge that gap. 760 as what was the cutoff for general merit in mains? 750, na? 720, 720, 730. So there is a gap of nearly 160 or 170 marks, right, between topper rank 1 and the last topper in the general category, right? Applies to other categories. So if you want to bridge that 150 to 160 marks gap, I think these bridge courses by themselves will not help. How you are going to make use of the bridge courses? It always comes to that at the end of the day, right? There is knowledge is available everywhere, guidance is available everywhere. How are you going to make use of it, right? So it should be like consistent, right? Consistent. At the same time, they should be what do you call chala antarla kannadadalli. In English, what do you say? What? Grit, determination, grit. In a way that they should be like constant passion to improve, right? From your previous answer to another answer, from your previous notes to the next. So that you must actually showcase it in front of your teacher. And this year, for throughout the mains, I am also going to sit and evaluate your essay and ethics answer, especially essays. So I suggest you to write essays regularly, and those who have taken essay feedback, especially from me, I think I haven't disappointed them. So if they have taken my feedback seriously and implemented, I've seen every year consistently people scoring 125 plus, 130 plus, some of them 140 plus even in last 2 to 3 years, right? It's a rigorous exercise. Essay especially requires depth, and I believe all these 4 bridge courses, in addition to your prelims knowledge, if you know how to use that knowledge in your essay papers, right? And I have also always talked about, I don't know how many of you heard, the extra knowledge from documentaries or books and non-fictions, right? So last time I had given a source, like there is an app called Blink List, Blink List, B-L-I-N-K, Blink List. So basically it is an app. Maybe you can buy it for 1 or 2 months. So there the entire book is condensed in 200 to 300 words summary, right? In terms of ideas, what are the central ideas in the book? So you can use those books, use those ideas from important books from this app, and they give you multiple dimensions, ideas, perspectives to use in your essays, and in some cases, in some questions, in introductions of your GS answers also, right? So you should have that passion. How do you differentiate yourself? That doesn't mean like totally differentiating, totally moving away from the core of the preparation. Just like, like I'm just talking about less than 5% differentiation, improvement, extra enrichment in your answers. So that is where you will get, half mark, 1 mark, 2 extra marks in each question. So collectively per paper, you will have like, 10 to 20 marks advantage. So that advantage you have to create. Otherwise, you see every year the most of the scores lie in the range of GS papers, for example. Those who don't clear mains, you will see that paper 1 maybe going by last year's scores in the range of 70 to 80. Paper 2, 90 to 100. Even those who don't clear, right? Because content has saturated. They have written more or less similar content. So those who scored 110, 120 in terms of better examples, quality of examples, better presentation, better structuring, better introduction, even better conclusion. I have seen that people not focusing on conclusions. They write for the sake of, thus, one statement, for the sake of. Don't do that. Be passionate till the last word. What do I mean by passionate is that how are you differentiating your answer in the test, examination. So you are writing 20 answers. So if you are picking up like 17 to 18 answers, in every answer you should try to create an advantage for yourself. So the total involvement, the total presence of mind while writing the answer is important. So you should not be in a hurry to complete the paper, right? So my suggestion, join the bridge courses. Once you join the bridge course, so he will specifically talk about GS2 paper now. Like from first topic to last topic, how are they going to conduct, what are they going to give specifically, he will address. So once you complete these courses, my suggestion is compulsorily join mains test series. So when it comes to our test series, we have 28 mains test. So I think ours is the highest number of mains test compared to other institutions. So don't go by the herd mentality. Just because everyone joins one test series, ultimately, if you look at the questions or synopsis, you won't see huge difference, right? And again, even if somebody gives better synopsis or something, you are not going after that. You are not specifically solely dependent on that particular. So what you require in these 3 months of preparation is that more of a good practice coupled with good personalized guidance, right? So you write your answers, bring to our faculties, bring to me also, bring to Sudeep sir, bring to Manjunath, Ashish and Umesh. So many of them will be available here. Choose one of them, right? So go to them regularly with your answer script and get the feedback and figure out how you can improve those answers further in the next test. So that is what I see. If I go to flashback, All India rank 1, and then there was Jaydev, All India rank 5, rank 31, Avinash, and there was Akshay Simha. So these people used to be like that. Like they didn't go. For example, Jaydev or Nandini KR. So at that time, there were not so many distractions, right? So it was about any test series, but more of a good peer group to sit in the classroom, discuss those answers after the test, picking up, like 5 to 6 a group with 5 to 6 members, and then accessibility of a mentor or a teacher going to them, showing, being accountable to someone, so that you have constant motivation to write all the tests. So that is what you should be looking at right now, not, so we will also evaluate within 3 to 4 days, right? So comparatively our copies are less, comparatively tens of thousands, which another institution. So ours are in hundreds, so we give you the best detailed feedback within 3 to 4 days, and then you can bring those copies to us. We will go through that, we will suggest improvements. Only if you require extra practice than these tests, then go for full length tests, right? You can join another institution. Ideally, my suggestion is join another institution only for full length test later. But in the very beginning, don't go for more than one test series. If you are here in Bangalore, try to prefer, like Madhu is there, like it's going to be a third or fourth interview. So this year it is going to be third interview, right? So he used to write, bring answers, and he has missed his ranks by low margin last 2 times. So I hope this year he will get very good rank. That's a nice rank. Good. So create an advantage for yourself. Okay. So ultimately, making use of the resources intelligently, smartly is the smart preparation. So now ನಿಮ್ಮ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ಇರ್ತೀವಿ, especially ನಾನು ಈ ವರ್ಷ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ಇರ್ತೀನಿ. And after mains interview guidance, I'm going to be there constantly here, because so I have this like 100 ranks from Karnataka. So this is my big mission. From by 2028 or 29, I want to ensure that it cross the barrier of 50 ranks from Karnataka. So for that we have come up with like suggesting people, go to Delhi, go to different parts of the country and write exam. That is also part of the strategy. And if you are writing within Bangalore, you have to take optional essay ethics really very seriously, right? And obviously GS also. So there is bit of more competition in Bangalore center compared to other centers, right? Because of the less number, and within the less number, within the pool of those students, most of them have done good amount of practice, right? Maybe content may be similar also. So what happens is that kind of averages out, so you don't get that advantage. You cannot differentiate your answer. So that is causing low success rate in the Bangalore center. So that is why I recommended people to go to different cities and write. So where, this is the logic I applied and it has actually worked. People who are going to Bhopal or Delhi or other cities, I am seeing if I am sending 5, 4 are going for interview, 3 are getting ranks. Last 3 years, this is the observation. But if you are writing in Bangalore, now don't worry about it, right? The courses are there, but that 1 2 hour extra effort, differentiation, personal guidance from your mentors is very, very, very important. If you are not doing that, just coming to class, just relying on the content, solely relying on this exact content, reproducing it in the answers and thinking that you have done your part, it won't be good for you, right? So this is the general instruction or introduction to this bridge course. So wish you all the best. Join again. And what you have doubt? Essay? No, for essay I will have a different session. Essay again next week, probably Monday or Tuesday I will conduct a different. I'm not starting any course, but with respect to essay, I will conduct a separate session, like 3-hour session. Adhan office matadam. Right. Any other doubts? So ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಕಾನ್ಫಿಡೆನ್ಸ್ ಇದೆ ಫಿಲ್ಮ್ಸ್ ಕ್ಲಿಯರ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ ಅಂತ. Below 70, maybe EWS you might have a chance. SC/ST you might have a chance. OBC no chance. 70 no chance. In below 80. So my estimation of cutoff is that 85 to 87. Right, for general category. In fact, to be honest, I'm feeling that it won't go above 85. Right. So I have seen so much, like last 10 years, people exaggerating their scores, telling everyone 90, 95, 100, 110. And then when you check the key, it will actually come down. Right. And the seats are high. CSAT was not, of course, easier compared to last year. Still, it is difficult for still so many people. Right. And you have to consider all the factors. You won't see sudden jump of like 20 marks from previous year cutoff. It always happens gradually. Okay, sir. In another. KPSC. Huh? See, KPSC, don't even dream about it. KPSC, right? ಅದು ಪಕ್ಕ ಉಪ್ಪಿನಕಾಯಿ ಇದ್ದಂಗೆ ಊಟದಲ್ಲಿ. Focus on the main course, right? Big meal. Prepare for UPSC. If you have given UPSC prelims and if you are going to prepare for UPSC mains, except Karnataka geography and Karnataka history, if these two, if you have read, and Karnataka economic survey, right? It's summary. So if these 3 things you have done, then put it to rest. So let it come in 2026 prelims, KPSC prelims, and mains in 2028. By the time you are married and have 2 children, right? So then you can focus on it. No, I am telling the truth. So I had given exam in 2011, result came in 2013 and it got cancelled, and then a big group of warriors, they fought, those were in the list, big fight, and then the result, I think they gave orders in 2022, right? And people who have written in 17, 18, they want more, they want one more age relaxation. They may be age 45, 50, and they want to, actually, right. You only in 2017, if they were 35, now their age is, right. If they were age 39 now, so there is nothing wrong. Let them keep writing. So I want you to focus only on the UPSC. KPSC, just go inside the examination hall. Whenever the examination is conducted, write it, just come out, forget it immediately. Right? Don't expect KPSC results. Right? Don't even think about it. Let it happen on its own. Right? Keep focusing on the mains, UPSC mains. Prepare. Let's see your abilities, your skills, everything should be upgraded to the extent of getting top 10, top 50 rank in the UPSC. That should be your sole target. The moment you degrade, you come bring it to lower level, focusing in the KPSC, your UPSC is gone, and the KPSC, we know that it is already gone, right? So they are talking of increasing interview marks also, right? So it is always mired in corruption. So anything that is corrupt, like why do you want to look at it? Just keep it aside. But you should write the examination. KPSC, everyone should write. Last year, majority of the people who got ranks were those who had written multiple UPSC mains, those who had given UPSC interview, right? So they were the ones who actually cleared in the large numbers, thanks to lowered interview marks. So if you prepare really well for UPSC, your chances are very high, right? So don't worry about it. Don't even ask the question of balancing the KPSC, UPSC. Prepare only for the UPSC. If you have done well in UPSC prelims, 100% focus only on the UPSC mains. Okay, so wish you all the best. And next week I'll be conducting one essay session, only one session regarding how to address these type of vague topics which we are getting, and how to create an advantage for yourself. So wish you all the best. Thank you, and so wish you also all the best. Right. He is one of the best faculties we have got. Gotala Manju sir. So there is a talk going on this street. Chandra layout. Manjunath street anta ಹೆಸರಿಡಬೇಕಂತ. Students and faculties keep talking about it. I don't know.
Okay, I think sir has more or less aptly, completely described what is the situation, how to approach mains, how important is it to start early for mains, all those things. Just to have an idea, how many have, I think mostly would have given prelims now. So more or less, what is the range of scores? 80 plus, 85 plus, 90, 100. Okay, so as sir has identified, I think mostly even if you're getting 85 plus, it is much better you keep starting for mains preparation. But again, so many changes will be there. Just to clarify first, let us say for example, you have already given multiple, let's say 1 or 2 mains, or let's say 3 mains. So, and if you have all those content, short notes, everything ready, so then obviously this we have to start from each and every subtopic of the main syllabus. Because first, as I keep telling normally, so with us, the biggest challenge with respect to prelims is lack of clarity in the syllabus. It is very, very vague. So that's why you'll have a lot of random new kind of questions. But if you look at the main syllabus, it is very, very detailed. That's your biggest advantage in the main syllabus. So normally, at least you can say 60% of the questions, so at least 12 to 13 questions will more or less repeat from every key subtopic. Just to give an example also, I can, if you have gone through the main syllabus, all those things, like for example, okay, let me talk about GS2 in detail. Fine, so if you have seen parliament related questions, every year they'll ask a question on parliamentary effectiveness or decline in the parliamentarian's role, how Rajya Sabha's role has declined over a period of time. So critically analyze the effectiveness of parliamentary committees. So these are questions which repeat each and every year. Even if you have observed federalism topic, every year they'll ask a question on federalism. Each and every year, almost 5-6 years. And mostly it will be around strong center or cooperative federalism or sometimes competitive federalism. They have still not asked a question on fiscal federalism. So fiscal, because remember 16th Finance Commission they have created. So obviously there is a high Finance Commission question they have already asked. I think twice they have already asked. Fiscal federalism question they have still not touched. Asymmetric federalism question they have still not touched. Understood? Confrontational federalism also they have just briefly given that word, but in detail they have still not asked. So that is where you have to put that effort. And so same way, like for example, you go and look at your panchayat related questions. Each and every year you will have that question, and mostly the theme is around what? Critically analyze the effectiveness of panchayats in the last 2-3 decades. So or sometimes 1 year I think they have asked about women's reservation in panchayats. Do you think it has effectively been implemented? What are the loopholes there? Even bodies, if you have seen that question, there are some 5-6 bodies. Either they'll ask on election commission or finance commission or CAG. I think 1 year they asked on Attorney General of India also. Or else they may ask a broader question like quasi-judicial bodies, regulatory bodies, which is very, very more generalistic one. So that is also fine. But most importantly, those 4-5 constitutional bodies is where you have to focus. And so that is a bigger change that will happen. So in GS2, you might have observed that you can broadly divide it into 4. One is the constitution polity part, governance part, social justice part, and then international relations part. Fine, so more or less it is like what? 125 marks is for polity part. 25 marks is for your governance part. Social justice is around 50 marks. International relation is 50 marks. Understood? So those who have just completed the classes but notes are not ready and all those things, let us say for example you are in the 85 plus marks. Very high chance obviously you are going to give prelims this time. Maybe 80-90% you are going to clear. Again, depending on categories, I think you will have an idea. Now let's say for example you have a typical kind of class related notes, you don't have clear cut subtopic wise notes, then it is very challenging to prepare for mains. If you have given mains, you would have understood that if you don't have one place consolidated notes, you cannot revise it 1 or 2 days before mains. Fine. And if you have observed any topper, like let's say go and look at any topper's kind of strategy, remember those kind of blogs or anything or videos, more or less everybody will say that I have a short notes, so I could revise my notes within just like let's say for example morning was GS1 paper, I was able to revise my short notes within 4 hours, 5 hours, because remember only if you are able to revise regularly, so you are going to attempt or you are going to complete the paper. Because you have very, very less time to think there. There is no option of think and write, okay, let me generate a definition now, that aspect is not there. Because it's a very, very quick one, especially if you're competing for the top 10 or top 50, or if you're in the general merit category, it's impossible to think and write. Understood? So which is, if you have given mains or even if you have given 3 hours tests also, you would have understood that if you don't have that, you may know the demand of question, but still you can't generate content. So that's why that matters a lot. Fine. So second major challenge that normally students face, especially in GS2, I'll talk about that, is which one? Which is what the substantiation means. What? For example, if you don't use regularly articles, Supreme Court cases, all those things, it will look like a very, very generalistic answer. However, you cannot expect, like let's say for example, around 50% marks then. Let's say for a 10 marker, if you want 5 or 5.5. So then obviously those articles, Supreme Court cases, judgments, or for example recommendations, NCRWC, Sarkariya Punchi, all of those things will matter a lot, including the keywords that you use. Definition should be in your fingertips. These are all small things that will matter a lot. Fine, and don't assume that the typical, the prelims notes itself will work for mains, not so easy. So because anybody who has given mains, you go and ask them. So if they are assuming and going that, okay, I have class notes, which is all very scattered, and then if you go there, it's not, practically it's not possible to just generate content like that. And GS2, another bigger challenge is what? Governance and social justice part, normally students will struggle a lot because there is no, I think even now in the market, there is no one specific source for governance and social justice part. So there obviously students will struggle. If you do not have the typical clear-cut notes for those things. It can be schemes or anything. Another bigger challenge the students face in GS2 is what? Sir, it is very broad, general questions. How should I generate, like let's say 2-page content? How should I generate 3-page content? That's actually a very big challenge. Like for example, what I remember, I normally keep saying this, Anudeep Shetty, so who was rank 1 in 2017, I think, 2017 attempt, he used to say that what he had assumed, even I mean, before that also he had got into surveys, but he used to say that he had assumed that, okay, I'll write 16 to 17 best answers. So that I'll be, because everybody will write general answers, I'll write a best answer for 16, 17 question, even 2-3 questions which are more general or vague questions, I'll leave it. But you know, practically what happens? You take 1 hour to write a 10 mark or a 15 marker, you are still going to get 5 or 5.5 or 7, 7.58 only. They are not going to give you, let's say for a 10 marker, they are not going to give you 8 or 7, or a 15 marker, they will not give you 8 or 10 marks. Hence, when you write that, when you approach that paper, you cannot write it for 3 hours as a whole. You have to largely take it as per question. More or less, let's say, okay, it's a 10 marker, I should write it in ideally 7. Let us say it's a general question, maybe 8 minutes. Maybe some other question where you're good at, you have to write it in 6.5 or 7 minutes. That's actually another very important trick. Another big trick that will work is, how are you going to handle the general questions? Either, for example, see, time management is an issue, space management is also an issue, content is also an issue, presentation is also an issue. Sir, I'm very good at speed, but my handwriting or legibility is an issue. It's not going to work. Presentation is good, but speed I can't manage. I can maximum write 1.5 side. But psychologically, if you write 1.5 side for a 10 marker, they can't give you 5 or 5.5. Psychologically, it doesn't work like that for an evaluator. Then somewhere you need a balance, like what? Either you have to increase your font size, or spacing between the words, or spacing between the lines, or maybe kind of a mind maps or tabular columns, all those things. Or let's say, for example, if it is category B question, means what? You know the demand of the question, especially in social justice, all those things, like poverty, hunger related, so many things they ask. So, but then what will happen? You will not have specific content. Means to write the 2 sides or 3 sides. Then what you have to do? It is better you write 1/3/4 side, or maybe 1.5 to 1/3/4 side, because for a vague question, how much ever you write, they are not going to give you 50% score. Because from a evaluator mindset, I am telling you, the more and more you correct, you will understand that only category A question, where to more or less it is like kind of direct, like panchayat question, federalism question, parliament question, there you can get 50% score. Other ones, anything you write, it is maximum 40% or 45% score only. So there you have that is the main tricks that you have to use. Understood? And then more or less current affairs angle, they will not go, generally if you have observed from the last 4-5 years also, directly from a current affairs, very rare you will have. What they will do, they will again link back to your syllabus, because syllabus is very, very detailed. And if you have observed, like let's say in UPSC notification, the beginning itself they have told that this exam is not a mere test of your range of memory or information. This exam is going to test your ability to analyze, ability to take a stand on socially, economically relevant issues. And they are expecting, clearly they have told that UPSC expect the candidate or an aspirant to write meaningful, brief answers relevant to the demand of the question. Literally they will stick to that. Understood? You cannot take for granted that I know all these things, because it doesn't work. And for example, if you observe GS2, there are people who have scored 120 plus also. Like for example, last year there was a student called Hitesh who scored 127. Now I asked him what was the major change. He said, sir, I was able to identify what is that direct question, what is that general question, what is that random question. Accordingly I structured. And then because he had made that, I think 80 or 90 page short notes he had made. So because before that, when he had given 2 mains or 3 mains, I used to score in, because GS2 is not, he used to score in 105, 106, 107 range. So the 20 mark shift, I think he's got some maybe 300 or 400 rank, I forgot the exact rank, I think around 400, is because of his short notes effect. And the keyword that he used, the substantiation angle that he used. If you miss out on that, then you will still get it, but 100, 105. That 100, 105 will give you interview call, you will go to that, and then again, of course, depending on categories, so then you can easily get an interview call. But then again, getting into list will become difficult. Or getting into, like let's say, top 50 or top 100 will become difficult. So that's why even for example, let's say you're getting in 70s range, as sir also identified, so it's very tough this time. But till December is your time for mains. Because if you don't put that effort now, then again January same, you will again focus on prelims, again same aspect will come back later. So that's why if in case you are not going to, you have a less chance of assuming, less chance of clearing this time, and if you are very serious towards UPSC, put the next 5-6 months more on mains preparation. And if you are expecting anything 80-85 plus, and if you don't have, as I told, those typical topic wise consolidated notes, or you have not written PYQs, all those things, because PYQ matter a lot. Again and again, okay, if you want, I'll, like for example, see, so one or other way you will have those kind of repeated questions. So UPSC 2021 question, recommendations of 14th Finance Commission, how it has enabled the states to improve their fiscal position. More or less when we prepared the probable question, see the role of Finance Commission as a neutral arbiter or recommendation of 15, if you have that big in and around idea also, you have a very high chance, because again this year 16th Finance Commission 100% one or other way, very high chance you will get a fiscal, maybe not Finance Commission because it's repeated, because 21 also they asked, maybe as I told fiscal federalism. Fine. Same way, look at it. This I have already told you multiple times. To what extent, in your view, Parliament is able to ensure accountability of executive in India? More or less same question. If you take accountability of executive to legislature is the most important principle of parliamentary democracy, discuss the utility of parliamentary committee angle. So it's still linked. Yeah, see, this is more or less exact question. So explain the constitutional provisions under which legislative councils are established. Review the working current status of legislative councils. Because remember that year, I think West Bengal asked that they want to establish a council, but Andhra Pradesh asked they don't want a council. Odisha asked they want a council. So because of that in and around issue, in fact we had made that, see in the recent times, there have been demands from various states, either for creation or abolition of councils. In this context, write a note on the composition, rationale for its creation, and critically analyze the effectiveness of councils as second house. Even like for example, have you observed 21, 22, 23? 21 question was, like remember that once a speaker, always a speaker. Do you think India should follow that model? 22 question, analyze the role of vice president, chairperson of the Rajya Sabha. 23 question, if you have observed, chairpersons of state legislatures. It is exactly same pattern. Speaker 1 year, vice president another year. Vice president means what? Chairperson Rajya, chairperson states. It is still ultimately the same. Even if you recall your basics also, presiding officer of any house more or less has the same function. Of course, yes, some changes, you know, that speaker money bill issue, speaker no confidence motions issue, those are all extra points that you leave it, anti-defection issue, all those things. That's extra, but largely it is still the same. Again, NGO, that every year, remember, as I keep telling in governance, NGO, pressure group, SHG. Every year one question fix. If they ask SHG this year, next year pressure group. Pressure group next year NGO. Sometimes two also, it depends. And the same way you have 3 topics under transparency accountability. One is RTI, social audit, citizen charter. If you can add, let's say for example, which one? Something like, let's say e-governance. E-governance, if you have observed, every year from the last 5 years they have asked a question. Very broad generalistic question, but still you can still manage it. Now look at this question. Can civil society NGO present an alternative model of public service delivery to benefit common citizen? I think it was 22 question mostly, or probably 21 because of the COVID angle. Now, even if you know the role of NGOs broadly, that year, because remember NGOs, lot of NGOs and these online groups also were trying to give a lot of clothing facilities, food facilities, shelter facilities. In that angle, they had, see, COVID-19 has once again proved the engagement of local communities and civil society is key to handle pandemics. More or less same question in a different way. Understood? So like that, I think this is very general. Every year I ask, whenever there is a question on SHG, there are 5 keywords. One is SHG women development, one is SHG rural development, SHG income, enhancement of income or livelihoods, SHG to children, SHG to, let's say for example, tackling this malnutrition, all those things, in and or let's say border poverty angle. They have to ask the same question. There is no other scope for UPSC to ask, because prelims is different game, mains is a different game, because detailed syllabus, that's the biggest advantage. Syllabus PYQ is the key. You prepare anything beyond that, then it's going to become difficult here. So see, SHG potential for true women empowerment, evolution, okay, this evolution angle they are still not asked, but again SHG, this microfinancing, and then linked to poverty inequality. Okay, this is much broader, but I think this is very basic question you will be knowing. 19 clause 1, subclause D and subclause E, right to movement and rights to residence freely available to Indian citizens, but these are not absolute. That broader question we had framed with respect to balance between individual and societal rights. This is every year, more or less every year you will have a question, role of NCBC in transfer, because that year, remember, not that year exactly, 102nd constitutional amendment, they transformed NCBC into constitutional body, but still now NCBC was given constitutional status by 102nd amendment, right to note of relevant provisions is that more or less the same kind of a pattern. Sri Lankan angle, remember that Sri Lanka was facing the financial crisis, all those things more or less everybody expected, so that they repeated that question also. RP Act actually even this year you can expect a question because general election year. Last year they have not asked an RP Act question. I think 2020 or probably 2019, 21, 22. 3 aspects they have, 3 years they have asked a question on RP Act, and if you have observed the question, largely it is about what are the disqualification provisions under RP Act. What are the measures available for the remedies? Let's say if you have already been disqualified, what is the procedure for you to, can you approach the court, can you approach election commission? Or broadly they may ask, there are still some 2-3 questions which are pending. Difference between RP Act 1950, difference between that and 51 Act, that is still pending. Another issue which is still pending is what are the recommendations, in other words, what are the changes needed in RP Act? Do you think RP Act is able to achieve free and fair elections? In this context, do you think any amendments are, or can you suggest any further amendments? That question actually is still pending. Understood? So more or less same kind of a one. So here we had asked the question, RP Act, do you think it can effectively address criminalization of politics, which is, we had made it more broad, but still it is more or less the same angle. Governor, again recall this year again issues are there. Discretionary power of governor angle is there. Remember 2-3 months back, West Bengal governor issue, which is related to Article 361, immunities for president and governor. Can you recall that? There was a sexual harassment allegation against the governor. And in Tamil Nadu, discretionary power issue, Punjab discretionary power issue, 163. So that is very famous governor question. I don't have to explain multiple times. In the, what do you call as this, recommendation angle, Sarkaria, Punchi, and then 2-3 cases are there, which you might have heard. So Supreme Court was also looking into, remember that Nebam Rabia case. So Supreme Court was also re-looking into that Nebam Rabia case, Arunachal Pradesh case. That angles if you bring, very high chance you can expect, because last 2-3 years, they have, I think last year they asked a question on governor, but that was about governor's legislative power, which is mostly from your basics, the ordinance angle, all those things. But discretionary power angle they have left out, so maybe. This I think that year was a more or less direct question from the probable question that we had made. So discuss the role of ECA in the light of evolution of MCC. Same, what is MCC? Discuss important provisions. So do you think MCC should be made legally enforceable? So MCC, ECA, if you have a link, obviously answer is there. This year again EVM issue is there, if you have seen one or other way. But I think is EVM issue they have already asked Election Commission. And remember Election Commission appointment issue, Supreme Court had given the judgment. So on then, so they have come up with a law. Broader question also they may ask, because mostly, I mean as far as I have seen, UPSC will not touch largely in the controversial question like electoral bond question. Mostly they may not, a very less chance they may touch. Abrogation of 370, if you have still seen, they have still not touched that issue of abrogation of 370 because controversial angles. So EVM controversy issue they may not ask, electoral bond issue they may not ask, but election commission largely, because still the question on what reforms are needed within election commission, the still a question pending. For example, if you can recall, selection body was not there, selection committee that they have brought, but still what is it not there? Even today election commission expenditure, it is still not part of charge expenditure. Election commissioners, even today they don't have security of tenure. Election commission do not have a permanent secretariat till now. All these angles are still pending. So you may still expect a question on election reforms within election commission. Parliamentary reforms, broader question is still pending. Committee only they are asking, committee is so and so. Parliamentary reform they are still not asking. So like that, there are a few patterns. You can, for example, you take judiciary question. If you have observed every year, what is the question on judiciary? Judicial activism, judicial overreach. Or maybe sometimes they may ask about judicial review broadly. So which is still pending then? Judicial reforms question is still pending. Judicial pendency question is still pending. All India Judicial Service is still pending. All India Judicial Service, President talked about it, PM talked about it, Law Commission talked about it. You still don't have a question. And subordinate courts, if you can recall during prelims you might have studied, that Supreme Court has declared that the independence of subordinate courts is also part of basic structure. On subordinate courts, what are the problems at that level? Do you think All India Judicial Services can become a solution to improve the effectiveness? Because if we can recall, out of 4.7 crore cases pending in judiciary, how many are 80% are 80, not even 80, 87, 86 to 87 cases are pending at a subordinate courts level. Where is the question on that? That and All India Judicial Service is a famous expected question which is still pending. And so like that, you can always identify those patterns. RTE, that also see exact more or less same question. Right to Education Act 2009, same more or less RTE Act 2009. Of course, not exact wordings they will not repeat, but in and around that concept, because every year they will ask a question on Act. See, this year, again very famous question which is pending is what? Criminal justice reforms. Obviously, you all know 3 major acts: Indian Evidence Act, CRPC, IPC replaced, Bharatiya Nyaya Samhita, Nagarik Suraksha Samhita, Sakshi Samhita. UPSC may be, if they ask direct question, they may ask what are the major changes brought. If they want to make it more broad, the question is what then? Because the committee was also there, which is what related to the broader criminal justice reforms, what are required. When you say criminal justice reforms, if you only write about India, Bharatiya Nyaya Samhita, all those things, that means your answer is one-sided. Remember, whenever they say criminal justice reforms, it is police, judiciary, prison, all 3 including judiciary. If you write only one angle of Bharatiya Nyaya Samhita, Sakshi Samhita, it's again one-sided. So like that, if you can identify that BIMSTEC was there, local bodies, I don't think I have to again and again say, even today which is pending, municipality questions till now they have not touched. Have you seen that? They have always asked Panchayat Raj, Panchayat Raj. Where is municipality question? So again, there is a high chance. Understood? I think this one contempt of court related issue. E-governance every year, as I told, e-governance, transparency, accountability, digital governance is a repeated question. Okay, that diaspora question in your committee is again repeated. Vulnerable section, social justice angle. Social justice also actually skill development, again kind of one. So if you have identified in social justice, for example, you have 4 subtopics. One is the welfare schemes for vulnerable section. Second one is what? Linkages between poverty and hunger. Third is related to the human resource, education, healthcare, skill development. And then the fourth is what? Other sector policies. Last year, if you have observed, 101st Amendment, GS2, they linked it to federalism angle. But every year you will have within education, healthcare, skill development, repeatedly one question. When NEP was done, I think 2 questions they asked. And then I think last year, what is the question on? I think probably skill development they have asked. Last year, if you have a skill development, I think on education they have linked. Or higher education, very famous question. Primary education, I think lastly they have not touched. Higher education, regularly they will touch that. Primary healthcare, regularly they will touch. If you have identified in and around that, there are a lot of patterns of question which are still pending. So every pattern if you identify, some 4 or 5 probable question if you do, more or less in and around that only they have to ask. There is no other option for them. Last year the 2-3 questions were little challenging, I agree. For example, if you have observed that last year GS2 paper 2023 mains, there was a question, can you recall, that civil society's role in enhancing women's participation in state legislature. That's your category B question, means you know what are they asking, you know the demand. How will you generate 10 marker content? Not so easy, because look how specific they made. Role of civil society, women participation, state legislature. It's a polity, as sir was identified, polity, governance, all linked question that is challenging, not so easy. That moment for you to generate content, it's very challenging. Then what you have to do? You cannot write very specific one. Remember, as we keep saying, whenever you don't have specific content, automatically better you shift to para format answer. If you have too much of points, then what you can do, write in a point format. The moment you feel, okay, I can only write half a page, one side for it, better what you shift to 2 to 3 line paragraph format. Very high chance you can manage. And then don't force yourself to write the entire space, because you know, evaluator, the moment they look at one paragraph, they'll understand, do you have specific content or are you just writing? It's very easy for them to identify. So better stick to that 1.5 side to 1 3/4 side in category B, means generalistic questions. But that kind of question is only 2 to 3. Understood? So that is the broader angle. And as I normally, I'll just sum up overall one. So normally what we'll be doing, because I think if you're not aware by now, so from the last 2-3 years we are doing this. More or less every year we have got students who have scored 120 plus. Fine. Last year there was some 3-4 students. 110 plus, there is a lot of students who have scored 110 plus. The biggest change is subtopic wise notes. We will write PYQs for more or less every topic, and then probable question based on the PYQ pattern and current affairs kind of linkages. Almost around 100 questions I have already framed again. Of course, it's not like 100 new questions. So many questions are pending, judicial pendency, all those things. In addition to that, around I think 40-50 I have made again this year. So we'll have 100 probable questions. As I told again, so 3-stage approach we will be following. One is conceptual clarity angle, which again I will not tell you that completely new concept you will get, because you have already prepared 1 year, 2 year, 3 years. Conceptually nobody can give you completely new thing, but catering it to the mains angle. 2 is writing answers for more or less every PYQ, at least repeated PYQs regularly. How to structure in real time, all those things. I will literally dictate the answer, you can note it down. We will discuss the structuring part, all those things. And then around 100 probable questions, which I have already made, so answers are all done. So that we will be discussing that. On an average, we will have 6 to 7 hours of class every day. Fine. So if in case you already have prepared subtopic wise notes or already have given interview, all those things, please stick to your notes. You don't have to join all these things. If in case it is not ready, but you have a chance, sir, I am getting 85 plus, 90 plus, and then, so maybe it is better, or else even if you are preparing for what next year because of 70, as I told, 70 or 75 scores, you still have to put on mains preparation. Or you can do the same angle for your self-preparation, self-study also, that's your choice. But this is the bigger aspect of how we are going to structure that. Understood? Because if you don't do that detailed angle, so then getting that 120 plus or 110 plus is not so easy. If you have given 3 hours test, you would have got a briefer, broader idea by now. Yeah, that is broadly what I had to say. So IR part, everything I have summed up. If in case any doubts, please ask. KPSC angle, I think sir has already addressed it. Is that fine? Okay, most of the guys are, I think, OGP students only. Okay. No, you don't have to join. So then I'll give you that link to that channel what we create. So you can get those whatever extra content or probable questions, everything is there. You get access to that. You don't have to do again. Once it is done, it is done. You don't have to do that again and again. Maybe whatever updates, current affairs angle, all that you do. But yeah, and if you don't have a short notes, sir, I still have 300, 400 page, it is not going to work. What you do, you revise 4 to 5 times, please make a short notes. Remember, less than 100 sheets notes for every GS paper is very, very important. Because as we keep telling, triple R formula, revise, retain, only then you can recall or reproduce in the exam hall. There is no time to think, it's impossible. And presentation aspect, maybe a few people might have been missing on presentation aspect. As I keep telling, invisible 0.5 to 1 mark for every single question, irrespectively. You go and ask any evaluator who has given, because I have given 6, 7 mains, 3, it's all done. So I can easily tell you, so if you do not have presentation aspects, 100% I will guarantee 0.5 marks to 1 mark, every single question it will cost. It's real, there is no exaggeration, because you exactly same wording you copy and go to evaluator. If your presentation, everything is good. For one, if they give 4.5, if your presentation is good, organization is good, they'll give you 5. It is human psychological aspect you cannot deny. I'm not telling you to write calligraphy. Of course, that all is not possible in real time. But have you observed? I think this year there was someone who was showing in when we, I think her name is Naushad or Naushin, I think rank 6 or rank 7 she has got. I think she is the highest marks in GS. So all India, huh? Rubina mostly. Okay, Rubina or Ruhina, rank 6 or 7th, na? So please go and look at her organizational skills and presentation skills. I think she's all India GS rank topper. Content is not extraordinary. Look at, have you seen, as I keep telling, even in classes I might have told you, Vishaka Yadav's answer copy. Go look at it. Even you look at Anudeep copies. No extraordinary content. Demand of the question addressed, and from the question number 1 to question number 20, you have consistency. You can never identify, did she start from question number 1 or did she start with question number 11 and 15 markers. You can never identify that. That consistency will matter a lot. That's why, as we keep telling, don't take it as, okay, 2 hours I'll write very beautiful 10 questions, and then last 1 hour I'll write 10 questions. No, it can't give you 120 plus. Even if you have given 3 hours test also, you would have identified by now. So please look at that answers copies. And so accordingly, what is your strengths? What is your weakness? Do I have writing speed or not? Do I have very quick content or not? Language hold or not? Presentation or not? That all you have to strategize accordingly. Just because something works for someone, it's not going to, even in prelims you might have observed that. Just because some strategy works for someone, copy paste will not work for you. Because your level of preparation, your level of strengths, weakness, everything will vary. Accordingly, you have to do that. And those who have given already multiple mains, so please go sit and analyze again what was going wrong. Normally, because even based on personal experience also I can tell you, so when I was giving that my 5th, 5th or 6th mains, so the impact that normally will happen is we'll focus too much on content. No, because everybody will write first mains also will write this. The more content you put, answers will become complicated. Evaluator, always remember, he is a person already is in 50s and 60s. He is not going to read Hindu and Indian Express and World Bank report, Niti Aayog report. He will not read every day. There is no typical UPSC answer sheets also which is not given. They broadly may discuss it. UPSC doesn't tell. Logically, if you think also, they will broadly discuss what can be the structure, what is the demand. You write too many facts, or you are writing a language which is not easily understandable for him. How are you going to expect him to give more marks to you? So that evaluator mindset also you should keep it in mind. Only content will not work. Content according to the demand, content which you, for example, Punchi commission, sir, I know 20 recommendation. Where will you use 20 recommendation? You tell me practically. Will they give you write a note on Punchi commission recommendation? Sir, I know 100 Supreme. See, even in normal political class also, if you have seen, imagine fundamental rights itself, I will tell you 50 cases or probably more than that. You cannot use all of them. That is for you to get the conceptual clarity. Maximum 30, 20 cases. Same case you have to use. Because small cases, they will not remain. How are you expecting him to know all the small cases? Do you think he'll search? And it's practically doesn't work like that for an evaluator. It has to be very easy for him. That's why those, remember, toppers, if you have seen smartly what they do, important keywords, they'll write it in big fonts, or they'll underline it, double underline it, box it, telling the evaluator, please look at this keyword first. Small things, but works a lot. I think broadly I've summed up. A little more specific, how to write an answer, all those things will be starting from tomorrow. So I think it's fine. So we'll not stretch, we'll not drag it too much. But I'll see if in case any online doubts are there. Okay, I think that's largely about the test series angle. Fine, thank you. Any doubts you can ask later.